I have recently ordered a Luckfox Lara for my PicoCalc. More about that later. Welcome to Astrox Radio, episode 4, 2025. In this podcast, we talk about space, rockets, tech, and way more things. And it's really fun. So let's kind of continue. Okay, I know it's quite random of a topic to start right off the bat with, but I want to talk about Rocket Lab's stock and how it skyrocketed. So I calculated that if you bought Rocket Lab stock 1 year ago, exactly 1 year ago, and you spent maybe let's say $1,000, then it would have skyrocketed by 550%. So if you spend $1,000, you'd come back with $5,500. And Rocket Lab stock is gonna keep going up, and I can guarantee that. Rocket Lab is obviously my favorite aerospace company, as they have the extremely reliable Electron rocket, and they're coming up with Neutron and way more other spacecraft. And I can't wait until Neutron comes, but it's only probably gonna launch in the United States, which they're just copying every other space company, which is not that interesting. As it was very interesting that they launched mostly from New Zealand for Electron. And now that they're going to be launching Neutron from the United States, their stock might skyrocket there, which is where the stock is from. It's from the Nasdaq, I'm pretty sure. And which is gonna be good for them. But it was just so much more interesting that they were like not the odd one out, but they were odd in a great way. And I really want more companies like that. Also, about the stock, how much do I think it's gonna go up? Maybe currently did I just said that it went up by 550% in 1 year. I feel like up until Neutron's first three launches, if they're all successful, it'll continue further on, but it'll keep going up until Neutron's first three launches. If the first three are failures, then the stock will go down there, and I can bet that. So I feel like if the first Neutron rocket launch is a fail, and then the second's about to come up, or I don't know, just after the first one fails, instantly sell your Rocket Lab stock. It's not going to make Rocket Lab very happy, but it's going to be way better for you. As if the second is a fail and the third's a fail, or if everyone did the same thing as you on the first day, sell their stock, do it as soon as possible because then you get the highest return back. And I recommend buying the stock right now, as by the time it's Neutron's first launch, it's around mid next year, you still have around 9 months of the stock building up higher and higher, hopefully higher and higher. Okay. We can talk about that Luckfox Lyra order that I recently got. It cost about $14 plus $5 of shipping in USD. It hasn't arrived yet as of recording, and it has, instead of the Pico 2W, which has 520 kilobytes of RAM, only 520 kilobytes, remember kilobytes of RAM, this Luckfox Lyra has 128 megabytes of RAM in the same form factor, the same size, same pin layout, everything. And then the CPU, it has three cores, each at 1.2 gigahertz of ARM Cortex A7, I'm pretty sure, and they're really powerful. And then it has one ARM Cortex M0, which is same as the Pico, but just has that for memory management of CPU and memory management, which I feel like is a great design. And it's quite cheap for what it can do, and I'm gonna be porting my operating system there permanently. I know that lots of people have Picos, but I'm going to port it there permanently because then it's easier for me because I got a lot of RAM to work with. And I'm setting a RAM cap for myself to 32 megabytes of RAM, maybe actually 16 or 24 megabytes of RAM. You know why? Because I have the 8 megabytes of PS RAM on top of the 24 megabytes of RAM that I'm just saying. And that's already 32 megabytes total, which leaves the user with about 104 megabytes of user space. This can run a really lightweight web browser like Midori or Falcon, and those browsers are really good because they use very less RAM for what they already do, like the GUI elements, etc. And they can load some JavaScript web pages, I'm pretty sure, and at quite good speeds. And also, the RAM is DDR3L, which is like a cheaper version of DDR3, but it's still DDR3. It's not just casual SRAM, which is good. And I know I've already said this, but Astralixi being only on Lyra would be so much better. Also, if you're trying to buy the Luckbox Lyra, make sure you're gonna buy the right one. You see the size of it, and it looks like a Raspberry Pi Pico, but just like a black board with a lot more stuff on it. And this is like, if you search Luckbox Lyra, just Luckbox space Lyra, I'm pretty sure it's a second or first option. Like, it says like micro development, Linux board, etc. Also, another thing about that, for the drive, I'm trying to make drivers for my operating system, like custom drivers, and I have no idea how to, but I'm still doing it because if I can't just use any drivers available for the Pico Calc with Luckfox Solara, because those drivers are for Linux, and Astralixi OS is not Linux based and will never be Linux based, and I can't just port them easily because they're all part of the Linux kernel, and the Linux kernel is completely different to Astralixi's kernel. And I have to make these custom drivers, which will be really annoying. And I don't think the first actual version of Astralixi OS will come out until early next year, which is kind of sad. But you see how good it is. It's gonna be better than Pico. I'm sorry, Jay Blank, but Pico is not gonna be as good as Astralixi OS. Never. And I know it's kind of rude saying this, but Astralixi OS will have so much better things. We'll have a better GUI, we'll have better apps, obviously more RAM for the Luckworks Lara. He can't do anything like that. You'll have custom drivers. I'm not going to be using Blair's drivers anymore like he is. And it's going to have a good terminal, everything. And it can even run a web browser, which is going to be insanely epic. And you can install your own apps from GitHub if you want, or get apps yourself from anywhere, like on the official app download thing. Also, I'll need to find a Wi-Fi adapter for my Luckfox Lara. There's a USB OTG 2.0 connector, there's two of them. One in the form of USB-C and one in the form of some 4-pin something. And for the 4-pin one, I need to find a Wi-Fi adapter there that can stay in the Pico Cloud case without getting like 3D printing a new case, as I really need Wi-Fi for most of the things my operating system will do. And I don't care about Bluetooth really, I just need a Wi-Fi adapter. And if that Wi-Fi adapter is really good, I'll recommend it and put like links all over my YouTube channel for it and my Reddit page, so that if you want to use Astralixi OS, you know there's pre-made drivers for that Wi-Fi module. I'm gonna ask Luckfox Lara like Fred on the Clockwork Pi forums which Wi-Fi module they recommend, which is fast and power efficient, because power efficiency will be very important. I want, like, if I turn my operating system on with the GUI and everything, I want it to last for at least 72 hours, just the screen on. Kind of a big deal, isn't it? Maybe 48, but 48 to 72 hours with the screen on. And with a Pico 2W, it's probably like a month with the screen on, because literally like no processing is doing. And the 18650 batteries have like usually like 5000 milliamp hours, which is way over like how much it expects you to have. And if you had the Pi Zero, which has 500 megabytes RAM, the battery probably lasts like 24 hours, 16, 24. Yeah, 24 probably makes sense. But because it has like a lot of processing done, and it's kind of inefficient because it's not meant for efficiency, more for power. And that's why I chose the Luckbox Lyra. It's in between efficiency and power. Let's talk about New Shepard and NS-26, 36, sorry. Um, New Shepard is a rocket that's been made by Blue Origin. It's a very popular rocket for suborbital tourism, not tourist, well, yeah, tourism basically. Like very popular people like Katy Perry and a lot of other people have been on it. And recently, NS-36 had launched, and it was, well, not recently by the time I upload, but just, you understand what I mean. Blue Origin NS-36 was a suborbital space flight operated by Blue Origin as part of its New Shepard space tourism program. The flight launched from Launch Site 1 in Corn Ranch in West Texas on October 8th, 2025 at 1:40 UTC, so 1:40 p.m. UTC. The launch window opened at about 8:30 a.m. CDT, which is 1:30 p.m. UTC. The mission type was a suborbital human spaceflight, and the duration was very short, as most New Shepard launches are, at 10 minutes and 21 seconds. The apogee was 107 kilometers, which is 66 miles, and The crew size was 6. The members of the crew was Jeff Elgin, Dana Karagusov, Clint Kelly III, Aaron Newman, Vitaly Ostrovsky, William H. Lewis. Sorry if I pronounced any of those wrong. The launch date was October 8th, as I said, and the landing date was October 8th, which is because it's New Shepard, very short. And upcoming, there's going to be NS-36, which hasn't released any details yet. This NS-37. This NS-36 mission represents the 15th human flight on the New Shepard rocket and the 36th overall flight in the whole program. The flight's passengers had included executive in the franchise industry, Jeff Elgin, experienced in media distribution and events, Dana Karagusov, electrical engineer with a Bachelor of Science from Duke University and a PhD from the University of Michigan, who led government and industry R&D, so research and development, in computer science and robotics, Clint Kelly III. This is his second flight to space. First was in NS-22. And then serial entrepreneur and explorer Aaron Newman, Ukrainian businessman, hotel and real estate investor, systems analyst, web developer, and relentless globetrotter, Vitaly Ostrovsky, and William Lewis, who asked to remain anonymous until after the flight. Clint Kelly III was a tourist. Aaron Newman was tourist slash research subject, but technically a tourist, and the rest of them were tourists also. This was in collaboration with Utah State University, which is led by Chris Dakin, who has a PhD, and Aaron Newman took part in a study focused on human adaptation to spaceflight, with an emphasis on vestibular function and motion sickness. So he is technically a research subject also, but he is mostly a tourist. So that flight was really cool. I watched it live. Unfortunately, I didn't make a highlights short on it. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of shorts to make. Sorry if I can't remember all of them, but I don't think I made a highlight short on it. Most likely, by the time this podcast gets uploaded, which is this Sunday, October the 19th, I'm pretty sure. There'll most likely be a Flight 11 of Starship and a Rocket Lab launch for Electron called Our New World, which is Strix 7 launch. They both go for launch right now, but they might get delayed, they might not get delayed. I'm probably gonna have, for at least one or the other, or maybe both, a highlights YouTube short, which I hopefully all of you watch. So Flight 11 is on Tuesday, 14th October of my time. I don't know about yours. And which is GMT plus 8. And Our New World is Wednesday, 15th October of my time. Flight 11 is obviously launching from Starbase, Texas in the United States. And Our New World is launching from Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand, which is where most of Rocket Lab launches are done. This is what I was saying about how a lot of Rocket Lab launches, like Electron launches, are in New Zealand. They're at the Mahia Peninsula. I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. And they're quite interesting flights. I'm pretty sure this is the 68th or 69th launch, maybe 70th. I've kept an Excel spreadsheet showing launch statuses, recently posted on Reddit. Wasn't well taken because some of the data was inaccurate, but I gotta fix that. But other than that, I'm gonna go check that out later. So let's end section 1 of this podcast. Stay here, as section 2 will be very soon after a short break. So if you're still here listening, thank you. Before we continue on to section 2, because Astrox Radio is completely free of charge to you, can you support us by subscribing to the Astrox YouTube channel? And also, if you're listening on another platform, to follow the podcast. I really appreciate your support. And now, let's continue on to section 2. Welcome back to section 2. I hope you're still here. But anyways, let's continue deeper into this podcast. Let's first continue with some space news with some opinions from me from space.com. SpaceX launches 21 communication satellites for the US military. Liftoff occurred at 7:06 p.m. ET, so Eastern Time. SpaceX launched 21 satellites for an advanced new US military constellation. As a Falcon 9 rocket had lifted off from California's Vandenberg Space Force Base at 7:06 p.m. EDT on October 15th, on a mission for the Space Development Agency (SDA). The launch helps build out SDA's Tranche 1 transport layer, a network of 126 satellites in low Earth orbit (LEO), which will provide global communication access and deliver persistent regional encrypted connectivity in support of warfighter missions around the globe, agency officials wrote in an explainer. Today's mission was SpaceX's second T1TL launch. The first, which occurred on September 10th, also sent 21 satellites up from Vandenberg aboard a Falcon 9. Colorado-based company York Space Systems built those spacecraft. The satellites that have launched on October 15th, however, were manufactured by aerospace giant Lockheed Martin. Northrop Grumman also scored an SDA contract for T1TL satellites. Each of these three companies will provide 42 spacecraft for the nascent constellation. T1TL will be part of a larger LEO constellation, hundreds of satellites strong, that the SDA calls the Proliferated Warspider Space Architecture. What I think about this is this part of the United States Golden Dome project? If you don't know what the Golden Dome is, it's military protection in space. So like, if there's a intercontinental ballistic missile flying from continent to continent, because intercontinental, coming somewhere from like Russia or China or anywhere towards the United States, those satellites' points is to intercept those like bombs and blow them up in the sky before it hits the ground. It seems like space is gonna get like more like warfare related compared to more like exploration and science related. As already a lot of budget for the United States science has gone really down, and more for military has gone up, which is kind of unfortunate, as most space enthusiasts want science budget and like engineering budget instead of military budget. But it is quite cool what they're using space for. And yeah, that's my opinions on this story. Let's check out some other stories. And I'll later talk about how SpaceX Starship launch was successful and the Rocket Lab Our New World launch was also successful. Did a NASA exoplanet hunting balloon really crash in Texas? Not according to the scientists behind the flight. NASA launched an exoplanet hunting experiment October 1st, despite the government shutdown. After the mission's end on October 2nd, news reports got a little confused. A special exemption allowed a NASA-funded weather balloon to launch as planned October 1st, despite the ongoing government shutdown that began that day. But news about that balloon and an exoplanet hunting experiment on board got a little confused after touchdown. When the balloon landed October 2nd in farmland in Hale County, Texas, after a flight in Earth's atmosphere, several local news reports suggested the balloon had crashed or landed unexpectedly. That's not what happened, said experiment principal investigator Christopher Mendillo. They said, "I'm sure they just had no information to go on and made some assumptions," researcher told Space.com. His team had been working on iterations of the planet-seeking experiment since 2005, launching on both sounding rockets and balloons. A team of talented NASA professionals monitors the balloon flight for the entire duration and carefully chooses a landing site to avoid populated centers, energy infrastructure, bodies of water, mountains, etc., Mendillo said via email. Farm and ranch landings are quite common, and it is a credit to those involved that they found such a nice soft place to put us down. The balloon has no guidance or propulsion of any kind on board. The flight team incorporates real-time tracking and weather data to predict exactly where the payload and the balloon will land when they terminate the flight, within some range of uncertainty. I know that all of you want more space news, But I will talk about the Rocket Lab launch and the Starship launch just for a bit, but later. Currently, I really want to tease some upcoming shorts, as I feel like they'll be incredibly cool. Let me first list upcoming shorts. They'll most likely upload after this podcast, or maybe they've already uploaded. So there'll be a SpaceX booster landing deep dive. This has a good chance of uploading before this radio episode releases, but they might also upload after. And then there's what do astronauts eat? This is actually really interesting, as many people don't really know what they eat. They eat a lot of dehydrated food, as they have to transport it from the ground to space, and it has to last really long, so not much fresh veggies. Then there'll be a show on the fastest things in the universe. After that, there'll be short about I am looking for contributors for my operating system, as I really want some contributors to help me make Astrolixy OS's growth even better. Then there'll be top 3 space innovations which changed our world. These innovations are literally out of our world, and it changed our own world, as it provided a lot of it helped provide lots of scientific data and take us beyond Earth. And then another one, and the final one that I've had planned, is how spacecraft navigate in space. Spacecraft have a lots of gyroscopes, not really gyroscopes, but a lot of sensors and navigation data. Like they use the stars to navigate and position themselves, which is insanely epic technologies. I'm going to now introduce my model rocket. My model rocket. So if you don't know what a model rocket is, it's by these companies called ESTS and other companies, and you've seen those rockets like Starship, Electron, New Glenn, New Shepard, all of them. Okay, but these model rockets are way smaller. They're 30 centimeters tall, 50 centimeters tall. Some of them are 1 or 2 meters tall, but those are space shot rockets. Those go to actual space, but just to space. And the one I have is around probably 35 centimeters tall. So I'm planning on launching it maybe in a month or less, and maybe a little longer. I don't know, but and I'll probably upload a short about it on my channel unless it fails, or I might even upload it if it fails. This is my first model rocket launch, because one of the past ones it didn't actually launch when I clicked the ignition, and it was really annoying. And I realized ages later that, and I was already back home then, that the ignition pin key wasn't in that whole time. So currently I have my model rocket built and the launch pad built, but on the launch pad there's a launch rod. The launch rod is usually, how long is it? 1.4 meters long, and there's 3 parts, or 1.2 meters long and it's 3 parts. And when I was putting the 3 parts together, 2 of them went together, and the third one I was trying to get it in, but it didn't fit. And I pushed really hard that the connector snapped, and now the launch rod is only 2/3 of the length of the normal rod. And it's known to not be that safe to just have your launch rod not full length compared to having 3 compared to having 2. And I don't know how to add the 3. As if third one, if I add a bit of glue, the rocket might bang against that glue and not properly launch straight up. So I don't know what to do right now, but within a month I hopefully will figure out something. Or if I decide to just wing it and not having the what's it called again, third piece of the launch rod, I'll just take it. It's fine. The price of the model rocket was around $80. Not too much. Well, not too less. 80 USD, I'm saying. And then those engines I also have to buy, that was $10 to $15. I think they're all C-rated engines. So it goes from A, B, C, and the higher the letter, so A, B, C, D. D is more powerful than A, and stuff like that. The higher the letter, the more powerful. And this is my first proper launch. I did C, as I wanted some actual launch mechanics 200 meters high or 300 meters high, but I also wanted not too powerful or not too weak. Okay, I want to talk about 3i Atlas before we talk about the 2 launches that recently happened. 3i Atlas is the third interstellar object that passed through our solar system. Yeah, and I made a YouTube short on it, and I really want all of you to check it out because it was amazing, and I put a lot of hard work into that YouTube short. So let me quickly define it. 3I Atlas is a comet from outside of our solar system, the third interstellar object ever confirmed to pass through. It was discovered on July 1st, 2025, by the Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System telescope in Chile, and its 3I designation means it's the third interstellar object discovered, following 1I/Oumuamua in 2017 and 2I/Borisov in 2019. The comet is not a threat to Earth and is providing a unique opportunity for scientists to study composition of a world from another solar system. You can watch my YouTube short for more info. The interstellar origin of 3I Atlas is very interesting because it means it originated from beyond our solar system. Its trajectory is a hyperbola, which means its path means it does not orbit the sun, confirming its interstellar origin. Discovery was by the Atlas survey, that's why it's called 3I Atlas, which is a network of telescopes, and it discovered on July 1st, 2025. The scientific significance of it is that it offers a rare chance to study the building blocks of other solar systems. Its properties can be compared to other comets, providing clues about the formation of planetary systems elsewhere in the universe. Unusual features. Early observations noted an unusual feature pointing towards the sun, which is now understood to be a dust plume pushed out by internal activity and ice sublimation, not a traditional tail caused by solar radiation pressure. And the path of the comet passed close to Mars in early October 2025, and the spacecraft in the vicinity were used to observe it. It poses no threat to Earth. Now we can talk about the Starship launch and the Rocket Lab launch. First up with the Starship launch. Starship Flight 11, the final flight test of the second generation vehicle, had several key objectives. So the aims of Starship Flight 11 was super heavy controlled descent. The goal was for the super heavy booster to perform a controlled boost back burn and a landing burn before the planned soft splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico. Starship trajectory and velocity. The Starship upper stage was to achieve its planned velocity and trajectory for a suborbital flight around the Earth. Payload deployment demonstration. To successfully deploy 8 dummy Starlink satellites, which is simulators, during the flight. Raptor in-space relight. Execute a successful third in-space relight of one of the Raptor engines on the Starship stage, a crucial step for future deorbit and orbital missions. Atmospheric re-entry and heat shield data. Re-enter the atmosphere to gather extensive data on the heat shield's performance, which is intentionally stressed by removing some tiles. Dynamic braking maneuver. Perform a dynamic braking maneuver and test subsonic guidance algorithms. And the Starship controlled splashdown. The Super Heavy booster executed boost back burn and successfully performed a unique 13 engine landing burn. Starship upper stage achieved its planned trajectory. Deployment of 8 Starlink satellites simulators was successful, and most of the others were successful, including the insane re-entry survival. This is really cool, and SpaceX is doing a good job on Starship. Now about the Rocket Lab launch. The aim of the Our New World mission was to deploy the 7th Strix satellite for Synspective, a Japanese Earth observation company. The target orbit was to insert a satellite into a precise 583-kilometer low Earth orbit. Result was a 100% mission success. The Electron rocket launched successfully from New Zealand. The 7th Strix satellite was successfully deployed into its target orbit. This marks Rocket Lab's 7th successful launch for Synspective. I watched this launch not live, but later, and I even made a YouTube short on it. Please check it out. I'm really sorry for all these YouTube short, watch this, but that's the point of my channel, and I hope you do check it out. So, I guess I'll probably have to conclude the podcast here. But we did a lot in this podcast. In section 1, we first started off with... What did I do? Let me try to remember. first I did like a shout out about what I did, like ordered my Luckvox Lara. Then I did some space news from space.com, but I don't. And then Luckvox Lara order, some information about it, Astrolix Yells only being on the Luckvox Lara, some New Shepard NS-36 launch info, teasers to upcoming shorts, space.com news, intro to my model rocket, and the Rocket Lab launch and SpaceX Starship launch. So, if you want more podcasts, please subscribe on YouTube and follow me if you're listening anywhere else. Enjoy!